Hey, here we are back for another episode today of the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. Coming off Improvement Week, Chad's in Germany, Chase is at a wedding, Dallas is flying out here soon. So I have Miles and Lennon with me tonight. We're the A team tonight. So Dallas, how are you?
Good. I'm glad you got some backup. It was a photo finish getting in here. Glad that I could make it. Glad I could jump on. Chad made the most of Improvement Week, that's for sure. I think he probably got the better of all of us, I'd imagine. Bavaria, or I don't even know where he's at. Apparently he's in the air right now, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't know where he's at. He's been all over the place. Like, seriously, his travels on Twitter, and he's been taking this flat jack with him and stuff. And
yeah, check out some of his pictures if you haven't. It's impressive. I'm ultra jealous, but be good to have him back for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of made me laugh. I'm not sure, he went live from one of the beer halls in Oktoberfest.
Oh, and I missed that.
And he went live and they were singing Country Road Take Me Home. And then one of the other accounts, the Jackrabbit accounts, I don't remember who for sure. Sorry, whoever it was, posted like Barstool posted, this beer hall singing Country Road Take Me Home. No but I don't think it was the same one. But I was looking all over for this giant bearded man, but he wasn't wearing his floppy hat, so he's a little harder to pick out in a crowd than he normally is, I guess.
Yeah, he fit in pretty well in that crowd the way that it looked, but man, what a good time.
Yeah. So hopefully next week we'll have Chad. Hopefully next week we'll have Chase. Who knows? But me and Dallas, we'll be here for you.
Yeah, I'll be here next week. Won't be traveling. Like I said, today was a complete photo finish. I just sat down. I'm in a weird little sound booth thing, which works out kind of well.
You still have your Delta Pass for the Delta Lounge?
Yes. Right. So any connoisseurs, if you're an MSP, the G-Gate Delta Lounge is far and away the best. Probably the nicest one I've ever been in. They should sponsor us, by the way, because I brought that up. But found a good hangout spot. I'm good here till about 7:30. Got another 25 minutes. How did you? Hold on, I'm curious. How did you spend your Improvement Week?
Improvement Week. What did we do yesterday, guys?
I have no idea.
Kelsey went out and did a bunch of shopping, so we stayed home. We went to the park. We rode bike. We played catch. Made some food. Laundry. That kind of stuff.
All right, you got to catch up. That's how it goes. No, same at our household. A lot of football to watch, though. Man, what a fun day.
Yeah, that was good. We watched some football. Yeah. So anyways, Jackrabbit Illustrated, our podcast, our title sponsors, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. Very thankful for them. My wife actually was just mowing right before we came in here, so I got a bit of a late start coming in too. So yard looks good. Love that mower. Honestly, I'm getting a little itchy to test out the snowblower. I don't want snow, but I want to test out the snowblower. I don't know if that works. So if there's a way that I could test my snowblower without having snow, that'd be fun. So thank you, Kubota Dealers, of South Dakota. There's 8 of them to choose from, soon to be 9. John Colley, we can connect you with him if you're, looking for something. He's going to help you find the piece of equipment that's right for your space, your acreage, your yard, your farm, whatever it may be. They have some full-size tractors now that look pretty cool too. So, yeah. All right. So Dallas, obviously we didn't have a game this week. We had Improvement Week, like you just said, but we do have the North Dakota Fighting Hawks coming to town, right? In our Missouri Valley opener.
Big game. This one's been circled on the calendar for a while, I think. Just it's a heck of a test to open up, and a team that, I don't know, makes most folks nervous every single year.
Mm-hmm. And I think it makes us nervous because Stig and Bubba were good friends, right? Stig talked about that all the time.
Right.
And it did feel like for a bit there, Bubba may have had his number, was in his head or something. Those games are always good. Their offense is a pain in the butt, super creative. Tommy Schuster's a good quarterback, and they always play really good special teams, right? Yep. Their special teams is always elite.
That is, to me, that's the hallmark, one of the 2 or 3 hallmarks of a very well-coached team. And I'm a big Bubba fan. Again, I think it's probably because Stig was so much, and that's why I respect him as much as I do. But you look at the fact that they play great special teams. and the number of games that you've seen where they might be down by a couple scores in the fourth, and this goes for other games other than ours, they play till the very end. That thing is not over until it's over. They play, to the whistle. And yeah, I think they're going to bring it like always.
And then I look at their offense this year, and their offense, they got this, these good backs. The Luke Skokna is back. I'm not sure if you've seen him or not, but he's
a load.
Yeah, Luke Skokna is the small one, the little one.
Oh boy, he runs hard.
Yeah,
how big is he?
He's 5'7" or so, something like that.
Okay, I legitimately, the note I made just from watching film without looking it up, it must just be based on the way he runs, because man, he's
but they do have a couple different backs, Dallas. So maybe you're talking about one of their other ones. So Gavin Zebarth, that's their load. That's the guy that's gonna smack you.
Yep.
Zebarth's a big boy, and Zebarth is a story that he's one of those kids that's probably worth rooting for, except when he doesn't play the Jacks, right?
Yeah.
Because he was very under recruited. He put up a ton of yards in high school, very Zenner-esque in Minnesota.
Yeah, he's a Minnesota kid.
Yeah, and then UND I think may have been his only Division I offer, and so he's just a fun kid to root for, and it's good to see him having success. Skokna is the kid again that just he was that spring season. I think he kind of stood out, special teams guy, just a quick little shit, 5'7" or so. Really, someone just kind of a fun player, but he's really battled injuries. And then they brought in a transfer from Jackson State, kind of a Dion connection, in Donovan Hunt, which is someone that we had looked at recruiting as well. So kind of interesting. Yeah.
So I looked. The one thing that stands out to me about their offense is just the ability to spread it around. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you mentioned good quarterback play, and I'd call it great quarterback play from all the. I did get through at least highlights for the 3 games. Obviously, there's a lot of folks returning, a lot of guys returning from past years. But let's start with it. This game begins and ends on offense for them with Schuster. Mm-hmm. He brings back very good pocket awareness. He moves well. He's quick enough. I wouldn't necessarily just call him a mobile quarterback, but he's got that sense, right? And he can cause a lot of problems if he's moving around. Pretty tough to get a hold of. But on the flip side of that, you have to get pressure on him, or he will sit back and absolutely pick teams apart. If you look at the way they spread the ball around this year, outside of their top guy after Belquist, it is absolutely anybody with a jersey that's enrolled at the school can catch a pass at any given moment, right? It is. It's like you look down at it, it's just like 3, 4, 2 yards are all about the same. He isn't looking for one person. After you go with Belquist, who is super dangerous on the run after the catch, it can go absolutely anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim Poppins, right? Schuster is a slippery quarterback. Yeah. He just has a way of feeling pressure. Both him and Nick Baker scare me, right? In that regard.
Ooh, that's a scary comparison.
Is that just they both have an innate sense of how to get loose, how to make some space, how to buy time in the pocket, and then they have that go-to receiver. Him and Belquist just have a heck of a connection. Yep. Where they just seem to know what they're doing. So the left side of their offensive line is also really like them. Kitty's played quite a while. What's the guard's name? Ventrelli, something like that.
Oh no, I didn't get to the road line.
Really a nice player. Both of those players are experienced and good. So that's enough. Thank you. Bill Dent here. Nice schedule to have both North Dakota teams at home. Very favorable for the Jacks this year. Agreed, Bill. But we beat them, both these teams, on the road last year, and so that's just how it is. All right, Dallas, you're going to take over here. We're calling a timeout on this end.
All right, not a problem. I can do that. So let's continue talking offense a little bit more for UND. Again, you talk about just kind of discipline, the ability to spread the ball around. That makes me just a touch nervous because you can't single anybody up on any one particular player in the pass game. It's going to go absolutely anywhere. Back to Schuster, though, when you talk about the fact that he's a bit elusive, he's tough in the pocket to pin down, got to have a disciplined pass rush. And that's something that we harped on a little bit the last couple of weeks. We talked about the fact, don't have a sack, yada, yada, yada. Not going to beat the guys up. We have a fantastic group on the defensive line. But the fact of the matter is you have to be very disciplined because there's that in between. When you pass rush a guy like that, you can't be soft. He has to know you're there because, again, he can act as a pocket passer when he wants to. But if you're disciplined, you get too far upfield, you create run lanes, he's going to take off and beat you up with that. So otherwise, on the offense, we already touched on the running game. I was impressed that Z-Barth, how hard he runs. And then the last note that I had, Matt, was man, did you see how they line up on the goal line? If they did it, thank you for bringing this up. It's basically hold on. I gotta try to lay this out for everybody. It's like a cartoon. The offensive line gets into like a junior high 4-point, and it works, right? So bear with me here, but it's worked every time I've seen it. I mean, they are inches from the ground, and the D line every time I watched it tries to get underneath them. And I've never seen that, like an offensive and a defensive line crouch that low and go at each other. And it's usually when they bring that Vaughn in kid from guy from Canada, that big quarterback. Bring him in and he just runs over the top of everybody. My thought, if I was coaching against that, I would actually have your one technique, get down super low and then basically jump and go over the top. Because normally you never want to go over the top. You always want to submarine in that instance on the goal line as a defensive lineman, but they are so stupidly low. I try to go over the top.
Yeah, try something different, right? Because Quincy Vaughn's statistics are ridiculous. He has like 6 rushing attempts for 4 yards and 2 touchdowns or something like that. So, and he, I wrote this in opponent preview, which is coming out tomorrow, but it's bonkers to me that it took them this long to move him from quarterback to tight end. Like the kid's he's a natural athlete. And he was never going to beat out Schuster at quarterback. They're part of the same class. Why didn't they get him, in a different position sooner? Because he's having a decent year at tight end already. So I don't know. You can still bring him in, do the Wildcat stuff like we did with Tucker, which obviously is what he is. So
when you get an athlete, get him on the field, right?
Yeah, I don't get it because they still don't have like a ton of production out of tight end right now. So they haven't had that since the spring season. So I don't know.
I didn't. Did you get a feel if that was is that schematic or is that the weapons that they have? Because to me, I guess it was just scheme.
I mean, they had that good tight end. What was his name? Paulson or something like that. That spring season, that was a big weapon too. I forget his exact name, but he was a good player. And so I don't know. I'm glad you brought up Vaughn because that stat line just cracks me up. 6 rushes for 4 yards, 2 touchdowns. So
they do. And again, it's a selfless team that they whoever needs to run it in, whoever's number gets called, they're ready.
Yeah. Hey, just because we're short on segments tonight without another game to talk about, before we do preview their defense, let's talk about Jackrabbit Central quick.
Yes.
And Jackrabbit Central put out their Hobo Day line of clothing this week. So if you want to get the official Hobo Day gear, get on to jackrabbitcentral.com, get that ordered. I'm sure it's already up in the bookstore. Also, their Pheasant State stuff has become really, really cool. I liked that stuff and thought it was a good idea when they first did the hats, 10 years ago, it may have been already, and thought it was something that they should have done a long time ago. But their Pheasant Day gear is really cool. I mean, you don't have to wear it just out pheasant hunting, obviously. Wear it wherever. I saw Brendan a picture of him, and I think he had it on. And so go to Jackrabbit Central.
That guy wears everything well.
Yeah, right. He's just a handsome man.
Yeah, he is.
Don't tell him that. All right. But I did see
he doesn't watch us anyway. We're good.
Yeah, right. For Jack, thanks, Jim Poppin, for putting that link up in the chat on Facebook. Their downtown location, I saw they put out some tweets or Instagram photos, whatever. It looks like they're getting ready to move back into that store. So the downtown location will be open soon. Stadium store on game days, and then the Student Union store. So there we go. All right. Next up, their defense. What do you think? Did you get to watch any of their defense at all, Dallas? Did you focus on offense?
No, I got a chance, watched both of it. Handful of things stood out, and it was more just trying to think through how we're going to try to match them up. Because I think they're a decent team defensively. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. They appear to me, and Matt, you can go ahead and contradict if you want. I liked their linebacker group a lot.
Yep.
Their defense, I didn't actually look at the tape, but didn't actually look at the height and weight. Their defense plays a bit undersized. I don't know if they actually are, but that's how they look. And it looks to me like they try to counteract that, but they bring 5 guys an awful lot.
Yeah.
They also do a fair amount of stunning too, which it's total feast or famine when you look at that. They bring 5 rushers. At least, again, looking through the highlights and scanning through film as much as I did, I wish I knew a percentage, but 5 guys, a ton. And mixed success. I saw a lot of scrambles on the blitzes, and they look very susceptible to run when they blitz as well.
Yeah, they play a 3-4, right? And they probably are for a 3-4 defense. Their ends are still undersized. They finally went out and got a big nose tackle though, a nose guard, and a grad transfer from Northern Illinois. I believe he's like 6'2", 305, something like that. So finally, like we've been saying that for years, right? It doesn't make any sense with their with their 3-4. Hey, Chad's here. What airport lounge this week, Big D? All right.
Already covered it. We'll catch up later, Chad. Good to see you.
But same thing. When I was going through their stats, I believe all their linebackers have a sack or multiple quarterback hits, and then they also have on their safeties and cornerbacks, they all have quarterback hits too on the stat sheet. So they're sending a lot of pressure from a lot of different places. So this is going to be a nice test for the 605 Hogs. You nailed that, Dallas. So
lot to look at, and then that also means if you're bringing safeties and messing up that much, you got to keep somebody in the block. So whoever, if it's Isaiah, whoever happens to be in there, they got to be prepared, ready for pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking a little bit more on how to attack this, 2 things stood out to me. First one is they look extremely susceptible to running the quarterback. And I know that Tanner wanted to fight me last week for bringing up, pulling Mark and putting Chase in a little bit, but man, this feels like a good week to bring Chase in and let him run the ball. I think that would be a great way to approach it because again, just with some of the misdirection and the things, and you've got timing with blitzes and stunts and whatever, it's so easy for a quick hole to open up that creates 6-7 yards, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got a mobile quarterback and somebody that runs as hard as he does. And obviously Mark can run too. I'm just thinking for the sake of trying not to give him too many hits as we enter the valley here. The other one that I'm curious to hear your take on, I love our wide receivers one-on-one versus their corners. Oh my goodness. If we can make sure that we can get them manned up, singled up, get somebody on an island as often as possible. I tell you what, I know that I was the one saying redshirt Wildy. If you put get Wildy one-on-one against either one of those starting corners enough times, he's going to go off for 150 and 2 touchdowns. I don't think you put that kind of size and speed on them that they can take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one corner that they have that really is good, he's an all Valley contender, is CJ Siegel, number 3 for them. And he's had a good career there. But otherwise, I think you're absolutely right, Dallas. I think you can probably pick on any other corner not named CJ Siegel. I think their safeties are probably a little bit susceptible also. Their number 4, Malachi Buckner, actually played linebacker for him last year, and now he's back at safety. So that's an interesting switch for him as well. I think he played, Gardner Webb is where he came from. So super interesting there. That's something I'd probably look at attacking. Could be a Zach Hines type of day. Who knows? Tucker typically had a nice game against UND, right? So.
Oh, that's a good point. So, and again, that goes back to the matchups thing. You have your 6-7 tight end, and you do enough motions and figure out who's singled up. And again, I don't think any of their corners are bad by any stretch of the imagination. To me, it just, as much as I saw on film, there's multiple guys that gave up, kind of high point balls to taller, fast wide receivers. And I think that benefits the Jacks big time.
Yeah. All right, Dallas, while we still have you here, I'm writing down what's our predictions here for this one. Offensive player, who are you going with?
Offensive, you know what? Give me Wildy because I brought his name up already. What the heck?
All right.
Let's do it. I think it's going to be a receiver. Let's go with Wildy.
Okay. And I'm going to go with Isaiah. I know that's not super but Isaiah, that's who we're going with. So Chad, you're on. So send it in, Chad. All right. Defensively, he's going to be on a pitch count, but I'm going Adam Bach. Adam Bach on this one. Just kind of spying Schuster, messing around, but he's going to make some plays.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm excited to see him back on the field. So to me, when you look at a game where if they have success running the ball, something's horribly wrong. And I just you look at what this team's capable of, and you look at kind of their stat line for the year and the lines matching up, and I don't think that that's going to happen. So to me, they're going to have to go to the pass probably earlier than they want. And you've got a quarterback that can scramble, which sometimes makes it to the second or third level. I'm not sure. I want to go with a safety. And I cannot. Yep, I want to go with the safety, and I actually don't know which way to go. So I'll let you can pick. If I can pick a position group, I know that's lazy, but I could go either way from the safeties.
All right, we'll let the listeners vote. All right, is it going to be Cale Reeder, Kobe Huter, or Tucker Large? There you go.
I wanted to, based on how good he looked last week, I really want to go with Tucker, but I also don't want recency bias to throw me off.
All right, so Jim Poppin has a vote in for Kobe.
All right.
And Chad, in the meantime, has voted Dyshawn. That's his prediction.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Kibby goes with Tucker. Okay. Oh, Ryan Francis goes with Reeder.
Hold on. I don't know. We don't know that was. I love it. We don't. Right. Also, hold on. Kibby's name is first. That's Kibby and Lee shared, so it's probably Lee, but we don't know, or it could be.
Oh, sorry.
Either way.
Yep. Laura Lee goes with Kobe Herter. Oh man, Randy Jacobs goes with Tucker Large. This isn't looking good. I don't know, Dallas. This isn't going to decide anything here. and Tina Cozart throws in a vote for Jason Freeman, who has been really solid in Bach's absence. So man, once again, just a nice. Thank God we got him. He's had a nice season so far.
Note to future self. I think I'm going to start doing a Twitter poll. For player of the game before we come in.
Okay.
All right. I call that. You're not allowed to do it, although I might forget.
That's all yours.
I may forget.
The people's vote. All right. So you'll give some options. Like who you're kicking around. Yeah. And then there you go. Perfect. All right. Chad, get us your score. You get to go first here. So Dallas, what are we going to go with? Who are you choosing here?
Obviously going with the Rabbits, and hold on, I did not pick this ahead of time, and I had I'm going to speak slowly so I can find it. Their average, all right, so they're on the year, they're 36-4-23 against. I think we can put some points up on these guys. I think they can score as well. I'm going to go 38 Jackrabbits. 28 Hawks, formerly known as Sioux.
All right. Chad says 42-20.
Ooh.
All right. And Dallas, my prediction that I believe I have in my article tomorrow is like 38-21, something like that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I mean, mine goes back. I think it's a solid 2-score game going into the fourth. I think you get past halftime. I think the lines start to wear their lines down. Yep. But again, they're gonna score a touchdown with 90 seconds left or something.
Yeah. I mean, they've just had an interesting schedule, right? They beat Drake 55-7, Northern Arizona, who we'll talk about here in a bit, 37-22. And then lost to Boise State 18-42. So, like, those are 3 games that are hard to, right? What does that? Sorry.
Oh, I said, what a weird game that Boise game was.
Yeah, like that was close, right? Till midway through the third, essentially.
It was close, but then both teams gave up just awful turnovers and lost opportunities, and yeah, it was a bizarre game.
Interesting. So I don't know. Should be fun. The game is essentially sold out. They haven't posted the official sold out like they did for NDSU this week. But if there's any tickets that open up, it's going to be pretty minimal. They've done like 2 different ticket dumps last week where they probably opened up 20 to 40 tickets, I'd say. And those sold out within hours. So
those happen for anybody that's curious. I mean, things will look sold out. It won't be officially sold out. There's groups that have tickets reserved for any various game. So there's the opposing team, opposing team's family. There's our opposing team has tickets. our team's family has tickets for this one. It's I think it's the Letterman, former players Letterman weekend. So there's an allotment there. If you don't claim them, they go back in. So that's why it kind of ebbs and flows back and forth. But don't kid yourself. This thing's sold out.
Yeah. Yep. Whew. Thought I just sneezed. All right. Jack's bringing the pass rush this week, 41-24 from Ryan Pransel. Time for the D-line to get going with a sack or two. Jim, there we go. We agree. Alex says most models also viewing is very similar to Boise Caliber. Okay. Yeah. Also, hey guys, if you're not reading Alex's by the numbers thing that comes out on Thursday, his blog post on jackrabbitillustrated.com. Read it. It is so good.
It's Alex so good. So it was. I was going to reference it a couple times and just ran out of time here today. But yeah, it's bravo. For anybody, especially whether or not you love math, I love math. It's just a great breakdown of how everybody sits and kind of odds, and it's really good.
Yeah. So thanks, Alex. That's been a great addition.
Yep.
All right. And Chad is coming home.
The other part. Hold on. What Chad say?
Chad's coming home.
Oh, he's coming home. Welcome, almost home, Chad.
No need to post that, Matt. Yay.
So we did anyway. Yeah, Chad is. We mentioned it earlier. He was in Europe. He had like a 5-hour layover today in Chicago after a transatlantic flight, which sounds awful. And then he's finally on his way home to Sioux Falls right now. So,
what else, Dallas? Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I probably got to bail here in just a few minutes. So thank you for moving it for everybody that changed their time. It's completely my fault that we had to go at 7 instead of 8, but appreciate it.
Sounds good. One last person to mention here before we kind of move on. Hannah Owens has been doing our photography this year, the Owens Effect. And she just dumped a bunch of photos in the folder, Dallas, so you can look at it on the plane maybe. So that's cool. But she does a great job. I mean, if you're liking her pictures that we've been putting in the blog and everything, go to the owenseffect.com, support her work. She does great. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you, Hannah, for whatever you listen to this.
I am off to Kentucky. It was good to chat. Looking forward to the game this week.
Oh, train. That's the time.
Perfect timing. That means I got to go.
Yeah. See you later.
All right. Good Jackson.
All right. So, we're going to talk about, for the rest of the show, just have some fun talking about all of the good FCS games that happened yesterday. Ridiculous amount of games. And in the description for this show, I kind of put who we think are the contenders from the pretenders, right? And I know that's kind of cheesy, but I don't know. Chad usually writes those. So let's talk about our sponsors here first, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Bringing the family down for this weekend's game against UND. We'll likely end up at Culver's at some point. Just a great place. Everyone in my family likes it. The kids love it. The bags have the Scoopy tokens on them now. So that's that. Love their burgers. Personally, for me, kids love their chicken strips. They were here at the start of the show, the kids, if you joined us late. And they're good. So anyone hungry, Jim posted the pictures of when he was at Culver's on his way to the Twin Cities. So thanks, Jim, for doing that. When you guys are at Culver's or any of our sponsors, tag us, take a picture, post it. We do appreciate that. So, all right. And Austin Vanderwall wants to know when I'm getting on a flight. Gotta be feeling left out here. Sure do. But I'm actually going pretty soon on a trip. I'll miss Hobo Day. I won't be out of the country yet. But after Hobo Day, Sunday we leave, so you won't see me that night. So maybe we'll see what kind of internet we have. All right, so let's talk about this. Someone already brought up Montana State really took care of Weber. Yeah, Montana State looked good, everyone. Man, didn't they? I don't know. Sean Chambers sure doesn't have much touch on any of his passes, but he has a strong arm. Not always super accurate either. But those tight ends were cooking. And when they run the ball like that at you, constantly play after play after play, and then run one of those bootlegs to those tight ends that are all 6'5 plus, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? So that Montana State offense looked good. Weber State's offense looked terrible. I think part of that is a function of Montana State's defense playing really, really well again. They look like a heck of a defense this year. But, man, Weber State's offense is bad. So I'm labeling Weber State at this point as a pretender. They do have the big win over UNI, but they're a pretender at this point. Montana State's for real. We'll talk about a few more teams that I think are in that upper echelon, and I'll give some justifications on that. Jim says Chambers should be their quarterback one. I don't know. I think their offense is really fun with both Malott and Chambers on the field. Chambers just looked excellent last night, though. So Idaho, Sacramento State, that'll be the next one we talk about. If you didn't see this, Idaho kicked a game-winning field goal. They snapped the ball at 5 seconds, and they beat Sacramento State 36-27 because they scored a touchdown on what was it? Was it the Sacramento State was trying to run like a lateral play to get the ball, advance the ball up the field. Bad pass. Montana State scooped it and scored. Just a bad beat. Alex Kinkle's right. All-time bad beat. Yeah. So, I think both Idaho and Sacramento State are for real. Both good teams. Truthfully, I've never watched a ton of Idaho, even with Eck being there. But just they look good, solid on defense. I'd be curious, we've talked about this. Do we want to play Eck? Do we not want to play Eck? I'd say bring it. Jimmy knows his offense, him and Schleichner's offense. Their defense, who knows? Like Lujan's part of the same offensive tree too. So that's an interesting matchup. So for sure. Hopefully, honestly, I don't necessarily want to see it, but I'm not like afraid of it either, I suppose. So, all right. Staying in the Big Sky, right? Eastern Washington, 27, UC Davis, 24. So big win for Eastern Washington, kind of rebounding from their loss to the Bison earlier in the season. They actually look pretty good. So maybe who we saw early on in that game for Eastern Washington is maybe who they truly are. Who knows, though? So got to talk about, again, let's just stay in the Big Sky. Keep going with that. Montana drops a game to Northern Arizona. And we've talked about this. Northern Arizona lost to UND. And then the week prior, they lost to Utah Tech, formerly known as Dixie State, who Montana had crushed 55-13, something ridiculous like that earlier in the season. So Montana had to have walked into there just totally overlooking them. But how do you do that when you barely beat Butler when you're Montana? You barely beat Division II Ferris State. How can you walk into any stadium overlooking any team? And, I saw Craig Haley still had Montana ranked 25th in his poll. That's kind of a joke to me. Like, they haven't proven anything this year. Sure, they have just the one loss, but they are not good. Josh Hoffman says Montana has no offense. Yeah, their offense is atrocious. And even their defense, to me, like Northern Arizona was moving the ball pretty well. So Hawk looked like a dead man walking. Yeah, Jim agreed. Austin Vanderwall, Grizz aren't even pretending anymore. They just aren't good. Exactly. They were pretending, maybe earlier in the season, but now fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. Nope, you're not very good, Montana. Sorry. So let's move it out of the Big Sky. Let's talk about our 3 Valley teams that played. Oh, we're still in the Big Sky, actually, with this one. Good segue here. Southern Utah beats Western Illinois 37-17. Western's bad, just bad. Missouri State crushes Utah Tech 59-14. So I don't know what any of this proves. This what did Brendan call it? Triangle of suckage between Utah Tech, Montana, and NAU. They're all 1-1 against each other this year, so that's bizarre. And then Illinois State. We'll talk about Illinois State here quick. Beats Lindenwood 48-17. Illinois State, again, I don't necessarily understand who you are yet at this point for contender or pretender. So 48-17. Lindenwood, I think it was 7-7 at the end of the first quarter, and then Illinois State went crazy. They're physical. They have this big running back. I've talked about him for a couple weeks. Mueller, I think is his name. Just really, really looked good. They have a smaller back that they're doing as a change of pace with him. And then Annexstead at quarterback. Again, another big arm player, former Big Ten player, and he's going to be all right. So I don't know. That's going to be a tough game. I'm not looking forward to the Jacks heading out there to Normal. It was family weekend out there, I think, yesterday, and they had 13,000 plus fans in attendance for that game. So we'll see what they bring against us in a couple weeks here. So that's a game that's a team to watch. Illinois State has my curiosity, or has my interest, right? I'm curious about them. That's the right way to say it. All right. Another game, CAA game that was interesting of note, Delaware over New Hampshire, 29-25. I think those are both two good teams. They're definitely not elite. They're not in the top 5. But they're going to maybe come out here for playoffs. We'll see how everything shakes out. But they're teams right now that I'm not overly concerned about. Furman still on the right track, beat Mercer 38-14, kind of an early season test, kind of a fun one there. Nova took it to Rhode Island 35-9. That's interesting. And because Rhode Island was kind of one of those preseason hyped up CAA teams, probably pretender at this point. And I don't know if Nova's a contender, but they're probably in that middle tier. So similar to Furman, Delaware, New Hampshire. That's going to be an interesting CAA race, right? So fun. This is fun, actually, looking at these other games. And then this is interesting, right? We've talked about Eastern Illinois a couple times just because they've beat a couple Valley schools, 31-28 over McNeese. McNeese needs to just get back to focusing on being a good football team and not chasing FBS. It's kind of sad to see the state of their program right now because they used to be a really good school at FCS football. They're just not right now. And Eastern Illinois, again, picks up another win. So 31-28, Eastern Illinois. I'm interested in you. I saw that a couple voters had them in their poll. So I don't know if they're top 25 worthy, but hey, it's kind of fun to have them be relevant again out of the Ohio Valley. So, yeah. And Ron says a dark horse team in the Redbirds. I'm assuming Illinois State. So, yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to come back and just talk about Eastern Kentucky and SEMO, right? Southeast Missouri. So, obviously, Southern Illinois had the huge win over SEMO. That's why SEMO's on our radar a little bit this year. But it's just super interesting, right? Because then they turn around and lose this Eastern Kentucky in really similar fashion. A last-second field goal, right, to lose the game there. So kind of a mess. So I don't know. I'm interested in that. SEMO maybe had a great season last year. Maybe they're not all that. I don't know. Maybe just a tough schedule. Apparently not much defense again for them. So the last game I want to talk about is Holy Cross over Colgate, 47-7. And I know we can't learn a ton just from Colgate, but Holy Cross is a team that just annoys me so much. We've played them twice in the playoffs. They are just so chippy, so chirpy, but they play so physical. They are just beating the crap out of these teams. And it just, their offensive line just looks like they're on a mission this year. Sluka looks good. Fuller, their running back, I think has 1,000 touchdowns already this season. But that team is a team that I would definitely put in the contender class, right? I know that sounds really goofy coming out of the Patriot League, but Holy Cross looks for real. Like they are a good team, a physical team that I think could go toe-to-toe with, Montana State, SDSU, NDSU. Sac State, Idaho. I have no idea about Southern Illinois right now. We don't know if they're contender or pretender yet. Brendan kind of alluded to that on the B Team show last week, and I'm really with him on that. But I am a believer in Holy Cross, and I would put them in that elite group at the top, those 5 teams that I just mentioned. So, we'll see. Sluka, again, we saw what he can do when he's at his best in the playoffs, and I believe that game may have been his best after watching him multiple times. He's, I don't even want to say improved as a passer, but he just is who he is as a passer at this point. But it's his physicality, his leadership, his intangibles that he has that just make him dangerous. And the rest of the offense has plenty of talent too. So Dallas joining us now in the chat says Holy Cross is worrisome. Jim, fans are pretty decent when we played in the spring. Yeah, agreed. I think their fans were fun, the ones in the spring and the ones last fall in the playoffs game. Online, they're just awful too, but I think we're all awful online, so can't put too much weight in that. And Seth says Holy Cross is 4th in the country in my book, right behind the big 3. Right there with you, Seth. That's how I kind of see it right now. Honestly, it's not just the score from that game, 47-7. It's just how they did it. It physically dominated another team to the point where I was a little concerned about Colgate's safety. They look different. I like that head coach. I can't recall his name right now, but they're going to be good. So again, put them right up there with Idaho, Sac State, and potentially Southern Illinois at this point. So that's how I see it shaking out. I don't vote in the FCS Fans Nation media poll like some folks, but if I did, that would be kind of my top 6, 7. So, all right, the other sponsor need to thank here is Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill. And again, we talked about this last week. For the longest time when I'd go to Cubby's, I'd just get their bacon cheeseburger, right? In college, that's bacon cheeseburger, waffle fries. Always heard about their waffle fries and how good they were. And so I remember the first time I got to go and getting to try the waffle fries and how awesome it was. And bacon cheeseburger for me was forever. And then went out with friends another time, and they said, hey, you got to try this Mexicali wrap. So tried the Mexicali wrap, absolutely loved that. Started getting Chislic basket after that. Oh man, wings, so many good things. What was the appetizer tray that they had? Someone can tell me that. That'd be appreciated. But anyways, then, once you turn 21 and stuff and get to fully appreciate their tap list and everything there. I know for me, Cubby's, when I was in college and in Brookings, I loved going there for game days just to watch all the games that were on the big screen TVs. And so again, go out, support Cubby's, and just, thankful for them as a sponsor, just along with all the rest of our sponsors too. So thank you. Stop into Cubby's either on game day or any other time you're in Brookings, and they'll get you hooked up if you have time to eat. And if not, if you're doing fast food, go to Culver's. So thanks, both of you. All right, we got some votes here. Ron Lowney, awesome. Says I'm glad it's dinner time. Yeah, Ron. I just ate. Now I made myself hungry again. So what do we got? Jalapeno nachos. Oh, that's what Daryl said. All right, good. All right. So let's look ahead kind of to this upcoming weekend, right, of Valley games. And we finally get maybe our first full week of Valley action. And this is where we kind of really see after, non-conference schedule being tough, I think, for Valley schools. Obviously, we got UND at SDSU. We talked about that one already. USD at NDSU. This one's going to be interesting. I think teams can maybe still run the ball on NDSU this year. And if USD shows up like they did against Lamar, and granted it's Lamar, but if they lean on Nate Thomas and Travis Tice, they're going to be all right. I don't think they're going to win, but maybe it isn't a terrible score. I think their defense is okay. This may be the first true defensive test for NDSU. We'll see about that. Youngstown at Northern Iowa. So in the preseason, my off season, when I was doing my predictions, I did pick UNI to win this one. I don't know anymore. They just haven't looked that good, and Youngstown's looked decent. But again, we're going to find out a little something about these teams here. So that's an interesting one. Missouri State at Southern Illinois. I think Southern Illinois takes care of business, but Missouri State finally showed that they can maybe put up some points this last week. Again, that's against Utah Tech. So how much do we actually know? We're going to find out. And then some of the other game that we really don't care about is Indiana State versus Murray State. And so this is kind of the battle of the bottom of the Missouri Valley. So it's unfortunate, these are two programs that, every year are going to probably struggle. Tanner brought up an awesome point, I guess, about how hard it is probably to recruit for those schools when they're competing against the MAC schools for essentially the same talent. And so who are they actually getting for athletes, these communities, I don't know. So we'll see. But anyways, that's going to be that's kind of the Valley slate. 3 really good games: UND, SDSU, USD, NDSU, and Youngstown and Northern Iowa. And then I'm going to keep an eye on that Missouri State Southern game too, just to try to find out some more what we can see. Jim asked a good question here to Alex. Alex, what does your model say about UNI now? And Alex says his model still views them as the 4th best in Missouri Valley, but very close caliber to UND. So interesting. And he says, have to keep in mind that is a function of both teams' strength of schedule. So we'll find out more as we add more games. So with that, we're going to end it short tonight. Just because I'm by myself at this point. We've gone through everything we can. We talked through a lot of the fun FCS games. We previewed UND. But yeah, really want to thank, again, Kubota, Dealers of South Dakota, Cubbies, Culver's, and Jackrabbit Central. So thank you, everyone, for supporting. Jason Dorman, thank you again. I had this in my notes and I didn't bring it up. 120 tickets left for UNI and Hobo Day. So that's cool. We mentioned UND is likely sold out. NDSU is sold out, it looks like, officially. Students, it looks like there's been a tweet out. So find the Jackrabbit Athletics Twitter account. If you plan to bring students from other schools to this game, Jack's Pass has a limited amount of time. So yeah, a limited amount of days when you can actually pick up your Jack's Pass or get it added to your account. I'm not sure how it works. No garage time. Yeah, Jim, we're going to leave it short tonight, just by myself. So, are we to wear a specific color? Good question, Kim. I think it's blue and yellow, isn't it? Or is it blue? I forget. But the Fighting Farleys are finished. Ron, they're never dead. They're like Frankenstein or Dracula or whatever. They're never dead. So the fighting Farleys are finished. I like that. All right, and that's a good one to end on. Thanks everyone for being here. I know the FCS Fans Nation crew is actually doing a show right now live, so head on over there, ask them your questions. But again, thanks everyone for being here. With that, go big, go blue, go Jacks.